What's going on, Gator Nation? It's your boy Pat Young here for another episode of The Young and the Rowdies. And everyone, college basketball season has come to an end. Let's all acknowledge the great season that Gonzaga and Baylor had. What a game that was. Goodness gracious, Baylor played a complete game on both sides of the floor. That team was scary. I still think my 2014 team would have took them, but that's just me being biased. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this podcast. It's been a blessing for me and everyone that loves sports, getting a chance to know the athletes beyond just basketball and their careers and every part that they faced along the way. This very episode is going to be a little bit different. If you guys just listened last week, I had our guy Major Parker on. But this week we thought it would be better to allow a former teammate to introduce another former teammate. And we both get a chance to co-host and dive into the life of this very next guest. Without further ado, Major, go ahead and introduce our guest for this episode.
It gives me great honor and great pleasure to introduce Eddie Shannon from Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, Florida, a former teammate of mine, a guy that I watched, all through high school myself, when he was in high school and when he was in college, that I think he had a lot to do with my decisions with going to the University of Florida. Eddie has always been a high character guy, stand-up guy. Eddie's doing great things right now, coaching in the NCAA. It just gives me great pleasure and great honor to introduce my former teammate, former point guard, Eddie Shannon.
What's going on, Eddie? How you doing, my guy?
Doing well, man. Great to be on MP. The one thing I'll say, man, is, I'm from West Palm, but I'm really from Riviera Beach. So we got to give a shout out to the real hometown. Riviera Beach, Marlboro Heights to be exact. So shout out to Riviera Beach and the Heights.
Was that where you were born, or was that with the upbringing?
So it's kind of like the inner city of West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach is the most recognizable for people who might not know Florida or might not know the South Florida region. We say West Palm Beach, everybody's heard of it. But I'm from Riviera Beach, a little smaller community, not that small, but small enough. But a lot of people may have not heard of
it. Hey Pat, it's kind of similar to like if you're in Gainesville and you got people who live in Alachua County, live in Hawthorne, places like that.
Okay.
Kind of similar to like South Florida. We say we in Fort Lauderdale, but you got people who live in Plantation, Lauderhill, like the little suburbs on the outskirts.
Right.
So he's out of Riviera. Excuse me, Eddie. I know better.
No. You said it correct.
When's the last time you were there? That's what I'm going to ask now. When's the last time you were there?
So I was there not this past summer, but the summer before that. This past summer, obviously, due to travel restrictions and all of that, I didn't do anything. But normally I try to get back. If it's not recruiting, I just try to get back, to see my family because, I still got a lot of family down there and friends as well. So,
goodness, man, I can't. Where are you right now? Are you up in Tennessee?
Yeah, so I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, home of the Mocs, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, where I coach, assistant coach for the men's basketball team, and that's where I'm at currently. Me and my wife also we have a home in Dallas, Texas. So I'll travel there a little bit too.
What's the weather like out there right now? We got it. It's sun shining out here in Florida, man. You already know me and Major, we good. We're loving it right now.
Back there, it's warm. It's I think it's in the 80s today. In the 80s, Okay. The one thing about it, man, Chat has really good weather. I mean, you get the seasons, but I mean, it's warm for most of the year, I would say.
Yeah, I like that. My hope one day, because in Florida it just be one temperature almost year round. Especially, we close to it.
Hey, Pat, you got to pick up on Eddie though. I'm gonna give you a little hint about Eddie. See, that was a shameless plug for recruitment right there. You see how he shouted out the weather and everything. So that was a shameless plug for the recruitment right there. So he's steady working. Trust me on that. He's working.
Facts.
Hey, when you're doing your passion, it's not work.
It's not
passion about.
It's not work at all.
So let's dive into the beginning, Eddie. Speaking of passion, first off, how did you get into sport? What was life? That's a chance we get to do on this show before we get into your time at Florida. How did everything start?
Man, typical inner city kid, man. Obviously grew up and we figured that's our way out. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't grow up. I can't say that I wanted for anything, but it wasn't the grace. I didn't have what I wanted. I lived two doors down from the park. So all we did was play football, baseball, and basketball. So that's what I played growing up. You know, I started playing at the age of 5, man. I played everything. And you know, just trying to figure a way out. You know, that's what we saw on TV. You know, the people that look like me, you know, they were in the NBA or they were in the NFL, and I was a big baseball fan as well, because I played baseball up until the 9th grade. So I just, you know, I fell in love with it. I had an ability, and you know, I just wanted to see where it would take me.
Do you still have that like what if when it comes to baseball? Because I played baseball when I was younger. I stopped playing when I was 17, and I still be like, dang, man, I should have kept up with that one.
I do wish I would have kept playing longer, but my what if is in football, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was a pretty good football player. You know, I played, and I was an athlete, so I could play really any position. But I was probably small for a running back. You know, even though there are small running backs, I was a really good receiver. But I think my greatest position probably would have been at that time either cornerback or safety.
Dang, that's what's up. Yeah, I mean, you know, going to Florida, you could. That's DBU as well. You know, you could have been there and been a star, a star out there as well. Did you and Major get a chance to go up against each other a little bit in high school? I know you're a little bit older, but you guys know each other a little bit before college?
No, I never played against Major in high school. Major, you what, 2 years behind me? I think you're 2 years.
2 years behind. You graduated in 95, right?
Yeah.
I graduated in 97. No, we didn't get a chance.
Yeah, I knew of Major, but we never played against each other. But I knew of him once I got to Florida and everything. And obviously, you follow high school basketball, you know. So Major was a big name in South Florida. So he and Keon Dooling, those guys played together for a little while. So obviously, never played against him, but definitely knew who he was.
Yeah. So it's it's no unknown fact that you went through some adversity that happened, when you were a child. Mm-hmm. You know, was there any, and I'm sure you're tired of talking about it, but I'm just curious, was there ever a point, since you mentioned it, that, being an athlete was your way out, your way of being successful in this world? That's all you saw, Sadly, that's a lot of what only we get exposed to as young Black men, and we only think, being an athlete or a musician is the only avenue for us to make a life for ourselves. But, when you went through that adversity that affected your vision, was there any part of you was like, oh no, it can't happen, now, or was it more like, you know what, I'm not going to be a victim, I'm going to make the most of it, I'm not going to let anything stand in my way, especially, something so hard and traumatic as, your vision being affected, because obviously, that's almost everything. Well, how was it for you personally?
Well, to be honest with you, Pat, I think I was either 13 or 14, but I didn't give it a whole lot of thought. It was like, okay, I got hit. I played in a football game that night. And I think that's what started everything. And then I had to have surgery and all of that. And in my mind at that age, I was just thinking, oh, it'll eventually heal. I'll get my vision and all of that stuff. But one surgery led to another. Still just blurred vision that, the doctors were saying, hey, you'll get your vision back. And me just being like, I don't know what you want to call it, but I didn't like to miss anything. Like, I didn't want to miss a game. I didn't want to miss practice. I mean, and that's just the passion, my love for sports at that time. And I'm like, I'm not gonna let this, impact my ability. Like, I can't sit on the sidelines, so to speak. I'm not gonna sit on the sidelines and watch practice. I'm not gonna sit on the sidelines and watch the game. So, I started just telling people, hey, it's okay. I can see, right? So that I wouldn't miss anything. Now, in hindsight, we all have 20/20 vision, right? If I had it all over to do again, I would have sat out that time. I would have sat out and did whatever it took to, change my, get my vision back to where it needed to be, because I think it could have been saved because it wasn't that serious of an issue, but because it went we didn't tackle it, that over time, the longevity, long term, it deteriorated, and then it got to a point where it just couldn't be saved. But I think that's, and I have to put that all on me and my hard-headed, but that was also my passion. So it's kind of like a gift and a curse.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's difficult to make that decision because you had no idea how, that could have panned out. Yeah. You followed your heart, and right. I mean, that perseverance that you have has helped make you an inspiration.
Right. And I didn't, really, and I wasn't awesome I wasn't truthful about it to the people that needed to know, like my grandparents, and I was saying, hey, I'm good, and cosmetically there was no difference. My eye didn't look funny, it didn't look different, it was normal. So they didn't know, hey, they weren't going to say, hey, can you see these two fingers, or can you do this, or can you do that? No, they didn't do that. They just trusted what I was telling them. Otherwise, things would have been I'm pretty sure would have been different.
Hey, Pat, I have a question for Eddie on that too. Eddie, I just always wonder, bro, because I know what a great competitor you are, but I just wanted to know, like, losing your vision. Like, Eddie, I never knew you couldn't see. We didn't know that until about, like, I think that was my sophomore year, like your senior year.
Yeah, when it finally,
when it finally came out. Mm-hmm. And I just always wanted to know, brother, like, how did that motivate you? Like, being from Riviera, going through that, knowing that that you knew yourself that my vision was a little blurry, that I was probably a step behind, but nobody else knew that. You covered it up well, bro, because, like, watching you in high school, watching you at the University of Florida, like I told Pat last week, I think you was a player that was before your time. You understand? Mm-hmm. So, and I just want to know, how did that motivate you? How did that competitive nature, what did that do for you?
It's funny, Major, because the way I would think about that is I can't say it necessarily motivated me because I didn't see myself any different. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm just doing what I do. And I didn't, in my mind, and because I was, in every sport, in football, I was really good. I was one of the better players. In baseball, I was one of the better players. In basketball, I was one of the better players. So I'm like, hey, I'm doing everything the right way. I'm good. I'm Gucci, as they say, right? So had I felt like I was missing something, or these guys were better because of this, it probably would have been different. I probably would have said, hey, okay, I do need to tend to this because these guys have an advantage over me, not knowing that they have an advantage over me. But I'm just doing what I do. I'm just giving it, playing hard, my passion, and I was a good athlete. So I can't say it necessarily motivated me. It's just something that, I just knew. I knew, obviously, I knew I was blind. I know I didn't have perfect vision.
Hey, that's love. Going back to your recruiting process, when you start getting, because you were, highly decorated high school athlete, could really get them up, could really score, 3A player of the year, among many other accolades that you won throughout your high school career. How was your college recruiting process when school started getting on you?
Well, I don't think they have ABCD camp anymore, but where I really started getting noticed was at ABCD camp. And, playing against Marbury, playing against Shamgar, playing against, Ed Cota was actually on my team. Who else was on my team was Mike White, who's the head coach of Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the first time I ever met Mike. And just playing against Shaheen Holloway, who's a coach at St. Peter's right now in Jersey. But playing against those guys, doing well, playing for Team Florida, and playing on the big stage really well. My recruiting shot up right after my sophomore year, right? And then obviously I was this 5'10", 5'9" guy who was, really, really athletic and quick and fast and all of that. Like Billy still calls me. If we get on the phone, he gonna say Fast Eddie. He don't even call me by my name. He calls me Fast Eddie. Right? I wanted the process to be quick.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be over before I started school in the fall. So I knew where I was going and I could just focus. So I eliminated a lot of schools early. I had a high interest in Arizona, and that's where I ultimately committed to first. Damon Stoudemire, who's the coach at Pacific right now, he was the point guard, and he was like the number one point guard in the nation. I go on my visit, and that's my host. This guy that I look up to, who's actually smaller than me. And I knew Coach Olson, God rest his soul, who passed away last year. Was a great coach, well respected. I knew it was a great place for me, but it was across the country. I went out there, man. I had a great time. Miles Simon, who was with the Lakers, he was a freshman, and he was around. And they had some big names, and they had just come off a Final Four, as did Florida. So I committed out there. I wasn't going to take any more visits. That was my only visit. I had been to Florida and Florida State and a couple other places many times unofficially. That's just like, you do that all the time coming out of while you're in high school, with camps and individual camps and team camps and all of that. So I eliminated like the NC States, the Clemsons, the few at Boston College, Villanova. It was a bunch of schools. Now, the one place that I would have gone that I didn't have the chance to was Georgia Tech, because of Kenny Anderson. They wanted Marbury. I was second in line. So I don't know how that went. But anyway, so after I come back from Arizona, meet with my high school coach, I had committed. He's like, hey, you can't do that. And we didn't have cell phones and all of that stuff back then, to where I could be texting him and saying, hey, I'm about to commit. And he could say, no, you don't commit just yet. That kind of stuff. So I'm a 17-year-old, and I'm enamored about the facilities and everything that's going on, how they treat me and all of that. So I commit. So he convinced me to take the visit to Florida with Coach Kruger and those guys. They flew down in a private jet, picked me up from West Palm, flew back to Gainesville, and the rest was history after that. Great time. The people treat you first class. Loved Coach Kruger and his staff. And I decommit from Arizona, and then I commit to Florida. Now, once I decommit from Arizona, Jason Terry, the Jet, who was committed to Washington, he decommits from there and commits to Arizona. So that's how he got to Arizona. Yeah.
Wow.
so he stole my career. Yeah, but that was my recruiting story. I eliminated a lot of schools early. I wasn't one of the guys I didn't like the recruiting process. Like, I didn't want to be getting a bunch of phone calls and all of that stuff. Like, it didn't, that just wasn't my thing.
Comparatively, now that it's, full circle, in that, you're out of that, being recruited, but now you're on the stage where you are doing a lot of recruiting, how have things changed? Obviously they changed. Because talking to Coach Donovan, he was telling me some crazy stories, and I'm sure you can tell me all types of crazy stuff on both ends, from when you were getting recruited to being someone that's recruiting and chasing after these talented young individuals now.
Well, now it's more, a lot of kids don't make their own decisions now, and there's other people responsible for the decision, at least initially. At least the first time around, with the big names, it may be whatever AAU program, that coach is running it and telling you where you're going to go to school and that kind of stuff. And we already know the funny business behind it and how that's started out. We know that. But I think nowadays, these kids, they love the process. They like to be vetted. They like the phone calls. They like the texts. They like the recruiting process of the feeling of being wanted. You understand? Because I think a lot of times, if you're a recruit and a school contacts you, and it's a school that you like, you feel like you got a good relationship with the coaches. You think you can play with those players that are currently there. You like their style of play. But instead of saying, okay, coach, I'm ready to get down to the nitty gritty, no, you accept all these other schools because you like the process. I don't want to commit to you yet, because once I commit to you, then all the other calls and all the fluff stops.
Stops, yeah, absolutely.
You know? And it wasn't like that necessarily back in the day. It wasn't like that. I don't have any like crazy stories in terms of guys that I've been recruiting. Anything I think that was weird just yet, other than just the process being just drawn out for no reason. You like us.
Yeah.
You're ready to make the decision, but you won't because you like the process of many schools calling you and making you feel wanted.
And you being, on both ends of that process, you obviously understand part of the process is not getting the player that you thought you were going to get sometimes. Mm-hmm. How deflating is that, and how do you accept it and just move on? And, ultimately, because I know that can be tough. You spend, months at a time developing, making these relationships with players, telling them where you can see them, being honest, doing things the right way. And then it just, at the end of the day, they make a decision, which more than likely wasn't all their own decision.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, manage and deal with that mentally as a coach?
Yeah, that one is tough, but it comes with the territory, I think. And it's just, it's deflating, but that's why you gotta, recruit multiple guys. You can't close any doors, and you can't get emotionally caught up in it.
Yeah.
Because when you get emotionally caught up in it, and then something like that happens, it takes a lot out of you. It makes you question a lot of things. It's just like, and that's the hard part of it. And that's the part that you don't like, when the kids don't make their own decisions. You got to call. It's crazy because nowadays when I recruit a kid, I find out, okay, sometimes before I even contact the kid, I call his AAU coach, his high school coach, people around his mentor, the people around him before I call the kid. Because the way it's handled now, if you call the kid first, those guys will get upset and you'll be immediately eliminated.
Wow.
Somebody in that circle, you didn't call me, you reached out to him first. Why'd you reach out to him? Why you hit me first? I'm running that. I've had conversations like that.
Yeah.
I've had, so you gotta,
it's a tough business because, I'm on that side, Eddie, with dealing with the kids and dealing with the coaches and helping these kids, assisting these kids in making those decisions.
Right.
So I understand and I feel your pain on that because, like a lot of these guys out here, Pat, I'm pretty sure you experienced it. You was a high-level, big-time player coming out of high school. And a lot of these kids, they come from single-parent back homes. Mm-hmm. They come from that. They come from other people making their decisions and not, them not being stern on their decision and knowing, being able to speak up about what they want to do in their process. But Eddie, I also feel like there's a catch-22 to that from both sides of that, because a lot of these kids, sometimes we know as coaches, as players, and like you said, Eddie, a lot of these kids just go off attention. They want their attention. So they end up making decisions off of a coach that just showed them some attention. And maybe that wasn't the right fit or the right place for them. Because they just, because they thought like, okay, this coach showed me the attention. He texted me, he called me the most, but I don't know, this coach just needed to fill a scholarship, really, buddy, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And then the kid get caught up, and now we go into those transfer portals of those natures. But Eddie, I had a question. And Pat, I just want to back up a little bit. I had a question, Eddie, about your upbringing with your high school coach and your coaches before your high school, because I'm big on, it's great to pat the Lon Krugers on the back. It's great to pat the Billy Donovans on the back, but we came from somewhere before we got to them. It was people like, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Eddie, I believe that your grandmother played a very big role in your life, like my grandmother did. So a lot of those characteristics that you now live by, they was embedded in you from your grandmother and those coaches that was in Riviera community. Could you just touch on that a little bit about your high school coaches and those coaches in Riviera that kind of embedded you and, led you in a good direction as a youth?
Yeah, man, that's a good point, MP. Yeah, definitely my grandmother, God rest her soul. But I was raised by my grandparents, and so I'm an old soul a little bit. So I grew up like I have 4 sisters and a brother, but I kind of grew up as a single kid, because I was the only one that was raised by my grandparents. So I kind of grew up, so I was spoiled a little bit. But I have an old soul in that way. I think that's what made me so independent as a kid, and kind of a loner and an introvert. I'm a little bit introverted. And then when I think about my AAU coaches, it's Randy Jones, Ron Robinson, and Willie Shelton. I feel like that's where I got all my toughness from. Which nowadays you can't coach kids the way they coached us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they say everything in the world to you, but although they did that, you knew they loved you though, because they took you everywhere, right?
Yeah.
They made sure you got home. They took you. I mean, we went on trips. I'm from Riviera Beach. I had never been anywhere before. We everywhere around the country because we got a good AAU team, and so we're traveling places, new places, places I've never been. These guys, and so you allow them to coach you up. And at that time, parents back then, they allowed the coaches to be coaches. They didn't interfere, and they allowed the discipline to take place right there. I mean, within reason. And it was nothing, no physical stuff or anything like that, but it was, as they would say today, it was verbal abuse, but it wasn't verbal abuse. You understand? They felt like they needed to talk like that to us to get us to move, for one, to corrective punishment, 2, and to make us men.
Yeah.
You understand? Like the word, it's not going to be easy. People are not going to say things nice to you when you do something wrong in the real world. So they give it to you raw. So then when you hit the real world and somebody say something to you, you got tough skin. You're not sensitive, and you go in a tank, and then you got all these issues and all of that. But to go back, MP, I feel like that's where I got all my toughness from. Obviously, I was 9 times out of 10 the smallest guy on the team, but probably the best player. I was a driver, so obviously I'm going in there with trees and all of that, but I might get knocked down, but I'm gonna keep coming because it made me tough. And if I didn't go because I got hit hard one time, I'm gonna hear about it. You understand? I'm gonna hear about it. They're not gonna live that down. And not only am I gonna hear about it, when we get on the bus to go back to Palm Beach, I'm gonna hear it. That's all I'm gonna hear about.
Yeah.
You understand? So those guys made me tough, and they taught me the game. They taught me how to play.
Yeah.
And I just, us Florida boys, we were always athletic, feisty, tough. That's what you were gonna get from us.
They taught you how to be a competitor.
Right.
Exactly.
Like that's what it is. It's when we step into the court, you come to win.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna take sometimes a coach needing to get on you to get that out of you. And it gets coddled so much. And it's like when in the real world, when money on the line, ain't nobody gonna just talk to you all nice and that's when you get fired.
Yeah. The other thing that I learned too, MP, from them was like they didn't play the buddy stuff. Like if you played against, like if I'm playing against my best friend, like you, and you trying to take it easy, they're not gonna allow that to happen.
Yeah.
They're gonna create an environment where you and him are about to fight.
Yeah.
You understand? And what happens is, what I learned from that was I ended up going to Cardinal Newman Major, which is it's a Catholic predominantly white school. All my other guys that I played with, they went to the inner city school, the Suncoast, the Dwyers, those schools. So when we played against each other, it was, hey, okay, we boys, but that's it.
It's
And if
war.
we gotta fight while we're on the court, we gotta fight. We're gonna be boys after, but we gotta fight. But I learned that stuff, and that's the competitive part that you're talking about, Pat. Just competing against anybody, anytime, anywhere, no matter how big or small they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a disservice to you and your team and everybody else by bringing anything less than your best.
Yeah.
Even if it's your boy, it's a disservice to him for the blessing and opportunity to be on the court, because we all know that professional career, that span in our life where we can play basketball competitively isn't that long. And, you know, even when you're a kid, you might make the most of it, you know, step out there and put that work on your boy. Like, let them know what's up, because I mean, that's going to be bragging stories later on in life too. But yeah, I definitely get that. So what was it about, you know, Coach Kruger, you know, that got you, because you had the opportunity of being coached by Coach Kruger and Coach Donovan. You know, what was it about him that got you, that, you know, made you feel as though Florida was the right fit for you in you know, making that decision?
I think it was more of the distance, and it being, you know, it's 3 hours from Palm Beach, not too far. Coach Kruger was great. I thought he was great dude. The staff was great. The style of play, but at that time that they played, that wasn't necessarily something that I could say that I wanted to play in, because I was more of I want to use my quickness, my speed in transition and playing fast and pressing a little bit and that kind of stuff. That's not how he played at the time. Now he changed at Oklahoma, and those guys played way different, but that's just adapting to the times. But I just felt like he was genuine, he was candid, he cared about me. And I like what he had done at Florida. They had just come off a Final Four. They had a good roster coming back, and it wasn't far from home. And I knew when I went on my visit, I knew many people. I was already friends with Fred Taylor, who was on the football team, Riedel Anthony, who was on the football team. And I had classmates that were already accepted and going to Florida. So all of that weighed in at the end of the day. And that's what made me change my decision.
Yeah.
Hey, Eddie, just keep it real. You already had your ladies lined up when they was coming. You already had it lined up. Just keep it real. He already knew, Pat.
that was the real motivation.
Hey, that is some motivation though.
Yeah, for sure. Hey. So what, you know, when you get there as a freshman, you know, what were some things, so this is a question I like to ask a lot of guys, you know, if you can bring yourself back to that first year, you know, what were some expectations you had as a freshman, and then some things that were just like, oh snap, this ain't high school basketball no more. Like this is a real deal, like a job as being a college athlete.
I think it's good because I can remember just the physicality, because I was probably my senior year in high school, I was 150, 155, something like that. And then I get to campus and I'm going against guys that some of the things that I can get away with in high school, I couldn't get away with because you get bumped, and I couldn't take the bumps and you get hit. Now I was good enough that I can get some stuff done, but not at the rate that I thought I would be able to. You know, you get to the paint, there's 6'9", 6'10" guys challenging shots. Not only are they challenging, but they're hitting you. The speed change, which, you know, that didn't take long to adapt to, because I had speed and pace. But I would say that. And then the other thing was the time you had to get your shot off. You know, guys closing out quicker, you know, they're longer, you know, so you had to change. In high school, you can kind of, you take your time a little bit. Okay, now there's a different animal closing out now, you know, guy 6'4", 6'5", long, knows how to play defense, you know, so you got to figure out how to get this thing off, and you have to be able to get it off, because otherwise it's a detriment to the team if you can't. So you have to learn and prepare to be able to do that stuff. And the other thing was just the preparation that goes into being a college athlete. That stuff was a cakewalk to me in high school.
Right.
It was a cakewalk. I get to Florida and I would say, shoot, the walk-ons gave me a problem for like the first week or two. You know what I'm saying? Like, now once I adapted, okay, case closed, but yeah, I'm like, man, this dude a walk-on? you know what I'm saying?
Them boys be playing hard, boy. They be playing hard.
Right, and they're strong. They know what it takes to play college basketball. Me, I'm just, I'm wet behind the ears, and I can't say that I had a college coach who played in college or something like that and knows how to prepare, who knew how to prepare me at the time. Now, after the fact, he knew how to do that stuff, but I was the first for him. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's really kudos to guys who coach high school or coach AAU, and they've been recruited, they played in college, they know what it takes to prepare those kids so that they don't run into a brick wall like I did. Like, I had no clue. I just thought I can go off of raw ability, and no, you can't. Now, if I was 7 feet, I probably could go off raw ability, but even though I struggle sometimes.
Do you still see a lot of kids like that now that come in and just seem as though they have no idea what they're in for, when they come to college?
Absolutely. There are kids that still go to college now, and they have no idea what it takes to be a college athlete initially. And they struggle, for however long until they figure it out. Once they figure it out, they're fine. But that initial wall is like, man, I didn't, it's tough. It can be tough. And I have seen guys not be able to recover from that.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have the mental makeup to do so.
That leads me into the current situation that we're seeing in the NCAA. Over 1,200 kids are entered the transfer portal. Thinking that the grass is greener on the other side, or just not happy, or just maybe that's just their own journey with their learning curve. What do you see as the state of college basketball when you got 1,000, 1,200, 200 kids deciding, it's almost 3 per team, deciding that they need to leave and go somewhere else? Well,
it'll be even more next year. And the thing you got to remember is this generation of kids, it's like microwave success. There's no more process. The process used to be, if you're a good high school kid, you go to a good college. Let's say I'm a point guard, right? So the point guard I'm behind, he's a junior, right? But this is going to be his first year starting because he played behind a guy for 2 years, right? So now he takes over the reign. I come in as a freshman. I come off the bench. I play behind that guy. After his senior year, I'm now a junior. I take over. He may go to the NBA, overseas, wherever. I mean, and I'm talking about good programs, good players, but and that's at every position, and they just mainly recruited high school. You could recruit high school guys at that point. And it was a process. I come out of high school, I'm not quite ready yet, but I'm getting better through individual workouts, learning the college game. And my responsibility is not, I need to come in and score 20 points as a freshman. No, that's why you got these older guys, right? I come in, I get my 5-6 points, assists, whatever I need to get that helps the team in my reserve role. And then my junior year, now I got a chance, okay, now it's my team. Now I'm first team all conference the next 2 years or whatever. But that's a process.
Yeah.
These kids are used to instant success. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the internet, if they go on the computer and they click on a website, they want that thing to go through just like that. And if it don't go through like that, oh man, what's wrong with this computer? Something wrong. You understand? Yeah. But and that's what it's like. Like a kid go as a freshman, may not be ready, have no clues, not ready at all. oh, I'm transferring. The coaches don't like me. They got this guy playing. I'm transferring. You know, don't even give it a chance. Go ahead, MP.
Or a lot of times, like Eddie, I'm gonna double back on that about the AAU coaches.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, a kid, what I have seen and what I have experienced is some of these kids probably want to they probably want to stay in a program and develop.
Yeah.
But it's the AAU coach or somebody that's in their ear that's pushing them because they didn't get the numbers or they didn't exceed the expectations that they had for the kid. You understand? So that's, you know, it varies, man, on both sides, because I know, because I'm on the coaching side with dealing with a lot of these coaches who got the players and doing this, and they don't understand that process that you just explained, Eddie, where you're going to sit for 2 years and the guy that was in front of you not starting, he had to sit for 2 years. And, you know, they don't understand that process because the guys that coaching them are the guys that are involved with them. They didn't go through that. They didn't experience that. So what happens now, the kid's like, hey, Coach Young, I'm good, man, but I'm better than Eddie, but coach playing them. Instead of Coach Young saying, hey, this is the reason why Eddie is playing, the coach is saying, no, you should be playing. You better than this guy. I don't know what the coach is thinking about. And now that brings up stuff in the kid's head. So now when that kid has that one day in practice that may be bad, or he have a one good day, now he think he should get rewarded or patted on the back, and it don't happen. Now he's in the tank. Now he sinks. Now he picks up the phone, calls home, calls that coach. And that coach is doing what, Eddie? He's telling that kid what he wants to hear. He's not telling that kid what he doesn't want to hear. He's not being truthful with that kid, because why? We all know why. He's afraid this kid may be a lottery pick or may get drafted, because now he got a chance to benefit off of this kid. Like, I'm going to say it real. Eddie, you don't have to say it because I know you over there in your world, but I'm going to say it because that's what it is, Pat. And that's what it boils down to. And
for sure.
And it kind of like, me and Eddie, Pat, you know this, like I talked to a lot of my former teammates a lot, man. And me and Eddie, I would say me and Eddie are more than teammates. We are friends. He's like a brother to me. So we have these conversations. And I know at times like he feel like he's handcuffed from a lot of this stuff. And it's not him. It's not the player. It's the adults sometimes, bro.
Yeah.
It's the adults who are doing this and putting this stuff into these kids' head. But, you know, it's tough. Then if you talk to the adult is going to blame it on the NCAA. You understand? So it gets even deeper from that. So it's just like, man, you know, I'm just thankful that we're here, that, you know, I get to share this with experienced guys. I see my fellow brother, Eddie Shannon, who's doing well. You know, he's progressing. But Eddie, one of the things I wanted to say was, man, Pat, you're a little young for this, but your 95 class, bro, that 95 class, Kevin Durant. Like I heard you, I meant Kevin Garnett. I'm saying Kevin Garnett. I heard you mention Sham Gardwell.
Sham God, Steph.
Shaheem Holloway.
Shaheem.
Vince Carter.
Vince was in there, yeah.
Rasheed Wallace.
Oh.
Like I'm talking about, you arguably.
Paul Pierce was in there.
Paul Pierce. Like, bro, you arguably came out of high school. I came out in 97. Pat, I don't know, I can't remember what year you came out, and we all want to represent our class. But when you go to naming the guys that came out in your class, Eddie, and I'm big on giving my guys upbringing it. Like I told Pat last week, I'm big on giving my guys roses while y'all still here, bro. Yeah. Like, for you to be who you were amongst those guys, dog, like that is huge. That's huge, man. Because we named some Hall of Famers. You understand?
Yeah.
That you know, like, hell, man, Jason Terry, he wouldn't have ended up at Arizona if you don't decommit. You know, so like, man, it's a lot of stuff. Like I say, Pat, I played with this guy, man. I watched this guy, man, and I still watch this guy. He great husband, great father, great coach. You know, he does everything first class, man, and it gives me goosebumps to be sitting here and we going through this, and I see my man like, hey, I see him doing this thing. It makes me feel good. I get a little emotional, but it's good stuff, man. I'm sorry to interrupt, Pat. Go ahead.
No, man, you're all good. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, to also I appreciate that, MP, but to piggyback off of the transfer thing is these kids go too high sometimes too. They don't go to what's gonna benefit them. Okay, this coach coaches this way, and I play like that. Oh man, I'll fit right in right there. But University of Florida recruited me. I don't know if I'm good enough, but I'm gonna go because they the biggest school to recruit me. So I go there. Damn, man, these some good ass players, man. In order to win, we got. I mean, I'm not gonna play.
Yeah.
Oh, let me transfer. You know, so kids go too high. You know, and sometimes sometimes these coaches recruit kids at the Power 5 level. You know, when the kid goes too high, and they recruit them for insurance. They don't necessarily have a need for them. They got guys, and they just recruit them for insurance. Hey, he might need to come off the bench 5-6 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And then the kid gets there. The kid doesn't know that. So he gets there, he plays those 5-6 minutes. Oh, okay, this is not what I wanted for a college experience. I'm out. You know.
It just seems college basketball just seems like an ever shifting ground that there isn't, necessarily one solution because there's so many moving parts.
Yeah.
So much poison. It's so hard to get, full trust in anybody because both sides can be, can be doing things that they're not revealing to the other. You got the family, the coaches, the incentives of, as a head coach, is the head coach going to be moving soon, making promises? Oh no, I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to take this job. But as soon as the opportunity comes up, a great one. I know I said that last week, guys, but this is my dream job. I got it, which I don't blame. At the end of the day, everyone wants to reach their potential and take it up to the highest level. It just seems as though a lot of feelings get hurt and stepped on along the way. But I wanted to dive in since you guys were teammates for 2 years. I know y'all got some stories. I know y'all got something.
My memory is bad. Man, Pete might have better memories. I mean, like, if he bring up stuff, I probably can remember it, but
this is what I'm gonna say, Pat. June 10th through the 14th, we having a little powwow where all of the Gators get together. And if you want to hear the real stories, Pat, because we're on your podcast, and my man right now is the NCAA coach. Like, I'm not gonna reveal some of those, okay? So I'm gonna keep it like that because I know he got aspirations and goals of becoming a head coach one day. So I'm not gonna say anything like that. But some of the stories, man, I just remember Eddie. I just remember some of the practices, man, that we went through.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I remember some of the practices. I remember. I'll tell a story about Eddie, Shannon. I got one. All right, Eddie is one of those guys, Pat. He can play 1 million basketball games in one day. I mean, literally, Eddie will play basketball from sun up to sundown. But the minute you start talking about some conditioning or some running or any of that, Pat, you talking about breakdown. You're talking about checking out. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, that was a mental block for me for some reason.
That was a mental block for him. Because I don't understand how a guy could play 38 minutes, but he can't run 10 suicides. Mm-hmm. You understand? So it was a mental block with him. And I just remember Eddie going through that process, man, of struggling. I said because he's my teammate, struggling with conditioning. But with that being said, I think a lot of the struggles that Eddie went through with conditioning and a lot of the battles that he went through with our strength and conditioning coach, Rob Glass, at the time, that helped him move on further as he moved on in his career. Because Eddie
you was having some real battles.
Yeah.
You was having some real battles.
The weight room was easy, but like the 20 and 20, I don't know if y'all did that, Pat.
No, Pat ain't experienced that.
The 20 and 20, and Billy used to there's 20 suicides in 20 minutes, 20 and 20, and then on the track, like the 400s and 200s, like I just had a mental block with that stuff, man. Like I struggled through it, but the
You're
competitive.
the point guard. You're supposed to be the leader. You know, you got the ball in your hand.
Give
But
it
I
to him,
was
Pat.
saying,
Give it to him,
You're the
Pat.
point guard.
but in the conditioning, exactly right. In the conditioning, but right. You take, so in the conditioning, I'm struggling, and let's say you got other point guards, whatever, they lead, right? But then when we get on the court, I'm gonna outlast them. How? I don't know, because that now we competing.
Right, I got you.
Now we're competing. Like, I guess for me mentally, it was just like, man, I'm running, and what am I running for? Like, I'm just out here running, you know. But on the court, I got a ball in my hand. I need to put it in the basket or get somebody the ball to put it in the basket. I need to defend the ball and that stuff. So I just don't know. But yeah, I would have been a horrible example. This is what you need your point guard to be. And I tell you, like I had, so when I was at Kenesha's coaching, there was a kid, he's from Richmond, Virginia, Malik Johnson, man. He's one of my favorite people in the world because Malik was small. He played for Team Loaded. Malik is like 5'8", 5'9", but he's the toughest kid. He reminded me so much of me, but he was tough in every single way, you know, including the conditioning. He was first in everything. No matter what you ran, he was first. You know, defense, he picking up full court. Offense, he knows every play for everybody. And I got so much admiration for him. And that's why I'm giving him a shout out, because I did, like, for me as a coach to see the way that he was, the only flaw that I thought he had was it took him a while to get the leadership down, because he would get on guys. And when he got on them, you know, but he did not, when they did well, he did not praise them. So he had to bridge that gap and learn how, okay, if I want these guys to do, like, when they do well, I got to give them,
you gotta get them both.
Love. I got to give them a lot of love, because then they'll let me get on them. But he would get on them so bad, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm in the tank now." You know. So, but yeah, I would have been a bad example for that. Why? I mean, yeah, I would. That was my league.
We didn't do those. We did. Coach Donovan had us doing what did he have us doing?
See,
we had the strongman training. What you had?
Yeah, they do strongman
stuff.
No,
not to cut you off, Pat. Let me tell you something. You see how you had to think about what you had to do?
You ain't got to think about that.
And you see on our side, it came out just like that.
2020,
2020.
Hey, Pat, I don't see grown men break down, brother.
Yeah, that's no joke. We ended with 20 and 20, but I think we either started with 14.
We started with 12. We started with 12.
Yeah, I think we started with something, and then to finish,
was it every other day conditioning, or
no? That was once a week. So
once a week.
12, then 14, and 16, 18, and 20.
6 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know why it had to be in the morning.
Yeah,
I don't get that.
Yeah, those early.
Hey, but see, Pat, the conditioning was so real. We wanted it in the morning, because can you imagine waiting around all day knowing that you're going to get this?
Yeah, butterflies.
You got butterflies, man. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Facts. Yeah, I'd rather get it out early.
Get it out the way.
So Eddie, what was it like for you when Coach Kruger was leaving, and then you heard Coach Donovan was coming over? You know, you ended up being on his first Sweet 16 team. And speaking of, major, a little bit before this, you guys got beat by Gonzaga, a team that I'm sure nobody really knew of at that time. And, years later, their programs turned into a powerhouse. But, first, please get into like what it was like when, your coach that recruited you was gone, and then Coach Donovan, this jet black hair, 30-something-year-old coach coming in. What was that like for you?
Well, when Coach Kruger decided to leave, and I can't even recall how I felt, but I don't think I felt, like any particular way, good or bad. I thought transfer, but I wanted to. I was just being told by Jeremy Foley and some of the other administration, hey, just wait around, see who gets the job, and then go from there. So in comes Billy. And I didn't know, the only thing I knew about Coach Donovan is Coach Grant did try to recruit me when they were at Marshall. But obviously at that time, I was being recruited by all of these, and I knew how good I was. I mean, I didn't give Marshall a second thought, but I did have some familiarity with Coach Grant, right? The only thing I heard was great thing, Billy the Kid, gonna play fast, that kind of stuff. So that intrigued me a lot. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stick around for this. And he came in, he met with us, and obviously he was a good talker, had a good vibe, good aura about him. All young guys can relate to, me. I knew he played in the NBA, knew his story at Providence and all of that stuff. So, I mean, for me, it was a no-brainer to stay. I had a conversation with Coach Kruger about going to Illinois, but that never really panned out like that. Plus, they had a good point guard already in Keywan Garris at Illinois already. So me staying, I think, I tell people now that was just, that was a blessing in disguise. Well, I'm sorry, with Coach Kruger leaving, that was a blessing in disguise for me, not because of Coach, but because of the style of play at the time.
Yeah.
What Billy came in, just a difference in style of play. Both tremendous coaches, obviously. But just at that time, the style of play for me was
more your game. Yeah, that's kind of what you were initially looking for.
Yeah.
When you first, and I'm glad you got that opportunity to do so. What was it? What was that transition like? When getting into that new system, there had to be excitement. Going through the practices, you feel like, oh snap, we moving. Like this is what I get to finally stick to my strengths and my guns, because Coach Donovan wants you to get it up there and go.
Well, I tell you this, like MP was talking how the first thing we started doing was like stuff for conditioning. and even like the individual workouts were so hard.
Yeah.
They were so hard from a conditioning perspective.
Yeah.
He came from Rick Pitino, that's why. So
you're doing all these full court ball handling drills. You're doing 1-on-1 full court, 2-on-2 full court, 3-on-3 full court. I mean, it was really hard, but I'll say this, it like versus conditioning. So if we were conditioning, I may sit out 1 or 2, right? But with the ball, I just pushed through. You understand? It was like first nature. I am not sitting out these, I at least got the ball in my hand, and it was just like, no, we hooping, we playing ball. It's hard, and I'm tired as I don't know what. I'm tired as I would be if we were doing something without a ball.
Yeah.
But my mind would be like, okay, sit this one out. But with the ball, my mind's not saying that. It's saying compete. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how that works when it's something that you're really passionate about. You change that whole dynamic. Goodness.
Yeah, man. So, but it was, it taught me a lot, and it even taught me a lot how to deal with these guys today and their mental makeups, and how I can relate in some ways and try to reach them in a different way to get them to move in a certain way.
After your career at Florida, you went on to play 10 years professional. Bounce all around. You were in Sweden, Russia, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
What I put here? Latvia. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
France, Croatia, Cyprus, Greece, and Australia.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
I was all over the globe, man. All over the globe. You might see let me see, in a year or so, it might have an NBA player coming from somewhere.
From where?
From somewhere. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Hey, he trying to crack jokes. He's trying to crack jokes, Pat.
Pat missed that. Pat missed
Pat. It went over your head, Pat.
It went over my head.
No, I had so Pat, I had a chance to get a Russian passport. But I chose not to. So I played my first year in Sweden. Actually, I don't know if you know Tim Maloney and Tom Ostrom and those guys.
Mm.
Yeah, I think they were gone before you got there. But
yeah,
Coach Maloney helped me get to Sweden my first year, because the guy who was coaching the team is actually American, whose dad is from, I think they're from like the Clearwater area. His name was David Vischer. He was the head coach for Planya Basket. We won the championship over there, but Dave, I think, went to Florida, something like that. But so I had a really good year in Sweden. We won the championship. I was guard of the year in the country. So then, and that was only for like $50,000. But then I got a big contract the following year, which is rare, to go to Russia. But it was pretty much in Siberia. All the way at the top, you know, you got CSKA Moscow, and then you had us, right? I know you know CSKA.
Yeah.
And we played in, we didn't play in EuroLeague, we played in, it was called ULEB Cup then, right? So you had EuroLeague and ULEB Cup. And CSKA was our rival. We beat them, I think we split twice during the season, and then they beat us like 4-3 in the championship in Russia. But anyway, so after that year, they offered me and J.R. Holden, who was the point guard at CSKA Moscow. Now, he ended up getting his Russian passport, and he played on the Russian national team that played against LeBron and Kobe and all those guys in the Olympics.
Wow.
They offered me the same thing and to join CSKA Moscow, right? But then I also had a contract offer in Italy, a 3-year contract to play for a team called Udine, Snyder Udine. They're no longer in existence, but I took that contract, and it was a really good contract. It wasn't as much as they were offering me at CSKA, but the quality of life of living.
Yeah, I was gonna say the quality of life.
Seeing too much, you know, I was like,
you're living in snow and cold for 8 months and traffic in Russia.
Yeah, so I ended up taking that contract, and I stayed in Russia. I stayed in Italy for 3 years. Then I left, and then I came back for 2 more. Then I think France was really good. That was one of my favorite places. Strasbourg, really good team, strong team.
Strasbourg, good team. Yeah, I saw you played in Ike in Athens. I live in
Athens.
Yeah.
Now that was a bad experience though, and I managed to stay away from Greece. I really did, but I took a chance on Ike, and that was my last year playing. I took a chance. I went to Ike in August, because you played in Greece too, right?
Yeah, I played in Greece for 2 years.
Yeah, what's the word that they say and it means tomorrow? Do you remember?
Tomorrow is Avrio.
Avrio.
Avrio. Yeah.
So that's what they say.
I'm guessing tomorrow is whenever you needed an answer for anything. It was always
right.
Tomorrow.
Hold on. That plus, but the money. See, I stayed away from Greece because of I never had a money issue in Europe ever until I went to Greece, and that was my last year. Right, yeah, I went there in August. They were supposed to give me, you know, once I passed the physical, they gave me that upfront money, right? But then the salary, August, September, October, I got nothing, right? And every day you say something, they say avio. Tomorrow, right? That's why I can remember the word. But so in November, I was just like, forget that, I'm out. And I left there and I went to Australia. I literally came home for a week, and then I went to Australia that next week. And after that season finished, that's when I stopped playing.
Hey, Eddie, I have a question about that too, Pat. Like, Eddie, you played overseas for 10 years. You played abroad for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So for some of the listeners that's going to be listening to this, and some of the kids, the athletes that are looking at following your shoes and go overseas and play, like, what type of advice would you give them as far as being a professional? And then also, Eddie, I just always, like, we've been friends forever. So I know you are a good man with handling your money and your finances the correct way. Mm-hmm. Speak with them about, handling your finances the correct way. And then also understanding, like, after these 10 years was over with, what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. How did you prepare and plan for your life after basketball? How did you save your money? And how do I become like that 10-year pro that you were to carry yourself as a professional?
Yeah, well, relationships is everything, first of all, for after basketball. I mean, don't lose your relationships and cultivate relationships while you're playing. Yeah. And I think it's easier now with the internet and social media and all that stuff. And, cultivate relationships with people that are outside of your industry, because you can learn so much from people that don't necessarily have the same interests as you. Just try to get relationship, gain knowledge. You want to be well-rounded. That's the first thing. And don't think of yourself as just a basketball player, or I just hoop, or no, you're so much more than that. And you got more to offer the world than just that.
Gotcha.
You understand? And as far as just being a professional, man, one thing for me, and I thank God for this, is just, I don't believe in being late to things. And that's just me. Like, I think I was late one time for practicing in my entire professional career. One time. And that was a alarm clock thing, and it was a misunderstanding. But be early. Don't be late to things. Treat every single person, top to bottom, the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're all the same, man. At the end of the day, I don't care how much money you make or don't make. We're all the same. You're gonna treat the janitor the same way you're gonna treat the president of the school. And that's just that. You know, you treat everybody with kindness, because that's how you want to be treated. That's how you would want your offspring to be treated when you're not.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
People will respect you for that. And just do what you're supposed to do. Do your job. You know, do your job. Your job is to hoop. You can't control if you're missing or making shots, but you can control how hard you play, the effort you give, and being a good teammate, being a good locker room guy. Don't just be an a-hole, man. Just for the sake of, and even if you're a really good player, that's even more reason to be generous and kind to people and being a good person to people. You know, because you got a platform, and people already look for flaws in you. Don't give them any ammunition to, at least that's the one thing you can't control. Just be kind, speak to people, be nice to people. So that, you know, I just try to carry myself like that, and that may be because I was raised by my grandparents. They just taught me like that. I don't know. But I've never felt that I was better than anybody. I've always been humble. Everybody goes through things in life, and just do things the right way, play the right way, do things the right way. And that's what I would say about just, you know, being.
I love that, man.
Just being professional.
Yeah.
That was some great profound wisdom right there.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, man, just you know, the ball gonna stop bouncing one day. You'll stop coaching one day, and then people are gonna have a memory of you. What is it? Now, you know, people say don't care what other people think, and that's fine, that's true, but that's based on like opinions and stuff, you know, or what you're doing with your life and stuff like that, not on how you treated them or how you carried yourself.
Yeah.
You know? That like, you want people to say, man, I ran into Pat Young, and man, he was just a class act, you know.
Yeah.
Just class act. Or he was, man, that's the biggest a-hole I ever met.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to me, that goes further than anything in life. And that's how I try to raise my kids too.
Yeah. I definitely myself strive to, now that I've realized, you know, looking in and looking back through the microscope of my life, how blessed I've been, the opportunities I've been given. So how could I ever, you know, without me, especially my dad's 6'3", my mom's 5'7", and I'm 6'9". So that in and of itself, just to start off, you know, I did nothing to be into this body that I'm in, first off. So how can I ever, you know, treat, you know, my situation as better than somebody else's, or that I have done anything to deserve it? So I always strive my best, and I'm not perfect at it, but to value everyone's life, value everyone that I come in contact with, to, you know, cultivate humility and gratitude. And I tend to try to tell kids all the time, you know, if, you know, my tombstone were to just say Patric Young, good basketball player, I feel as though I would have failed the world. You know, because it's definitely made for way more. Like, basketball has been a platform for me to have a voice, to give back and serve and have a meaningful life, in the sense of how can I use my life to better somebody else's that hasn't been given the same things, or hopefully change the trajectory of their life that probably wasn't on a good direction and now can be headed into a better direction. Even if it's for one person, you know, it is priceless to be able to help one person change the direction of their life. And I'd rather not be taken away from somebody, from me thinking, you know, being a bad person, negative, bad attitude, versus, because kindness is free. It don't cost a doggone thing.
Not a thing. Not a thing.
It don't cost a thing to walk in the room, to smile, to have a good positive attitude, to open the door for somebody. That doesn't cost you a single thing, but just a little bit of effort. That's it.
That's it.
In the mindset.
That's it. Well, I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. I got one more question I wanted to ask you, Eddie. Well, two small ones. So you were at the first time you went to UCC Chattanooga, you were did basketball operations.
Yeah, my first year, my second year, I was an assistant coach. Yep.
How what's the difference? I mean, there's a big difference, but what were the difference in responsibilities from being, in the operation of basketball than going to the assistant coach? There's a lot more, I would think.
Yeah. So operations is more logistical. Travel, scheduling, as far as practice scheduling, coordinating with the girls team, coordinating with shooting rounds, all of that stuff, anything logistical dealing with the team, all of that stuff. And then obviously you can, if you're a basketball guy, because sometimes the Dobo is a basketball guy, and sometimes the Dobo is just a kid trying to get into the business, that kind of stuff, trying to become a head coach or whatever. But if you're a basketball guy and the head coaches and the coaches value your opinion, you're going to be in the basketball meetings as well. Right?
I got you.
So, and then being an assistant, obviously, is more it's recruiting, it's practice planning, it's individual workouts, it's all of that stuff. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah, I'm sure you definitely appreciated getting both aspects on your journey.
Oh yeah.
And I guess to end with, thank you so much for your time. What are your aspirations, goals, hope for, as you continue each chapter of your life? Hopefully, wanting to be a head coach one day, I'm sure, leading your own program. What are some aspirations you have? Obviously your faith, your family, being a good man, your relationships. But at the end of the day, how would you define with your vision for yourself?
My vision is, I want to obviously be a head coach at a relatively pretty size school, Power 5, high major mining school at some point. I would love nothing more than to be back, in Florida coaching. Love to definitely, if I ever had a chance, if I ever had the opportunity to, do something at the University of Florida, if that opportunity ever arose, that's a dream of mine. I think first and foremost is just, obviously just being a head coach. I love coaching, man. Just love pouring in the kids, and because I can see myself in every kid, man. Just, I got I believe in, helping these kids try to reach their dreams, man. And because somebody helped me, and whatever I can do to help, I don't, even if I think a kid might not be able to play at a certain level, I don't tell them that. I try to help them do it. Hey, you want to get better, you want to get in the gym, let's do it. Here's what you need to work on. Here's what you need to continue to get better at. So yeah, for me, man, just, being a head coach, eventually if I'd love to stay in the Southeast, obviously, if I could ever get a chance to get back to the state of Florida, as well as, the Gators, that would be great. That's just home, man. I'm a Gator through and through, if I have to coach against them, I coach against them, and I'm hoping to beat them.
Hey,
but
of course.
But as long as I'm not coaching against them, I'm rooting for the Gators.
Yeah. I love it.
And that's in every sport. That's football, baseball, swimming, soccer, whatever.
And we relevant in all of them.
We're relevant in everything.
Yeah. So
Hey, Pat, I want to touch on something with Eddie. Eddie, I just want you to talk about, man. You from Riviera. Give yourself some shout out, man, because I know you and I both. We do a lot of basketball camps back at home. We do a lot of stuff for the community. So just talk about, because Eddie runs camps back at home also, Pat, and he goes back and he gives back to the community. So
Yeah.
Eddie, just talk about that little bit, right? That little piece
Well,
right there.
Yeah, well, I haven't run a camp in a while. Being a Division I coach now is kind of, you can't really do that kind of stuff because it can be seen as like benefits for recruits and everything, and it's off campus. The only stuff we could do like that is in the month of June, July, and August, and it had to be on campus, and ran by the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. But yeah, I used to run the camps, my own camps, back in my hometown. And I charged like, I think one year I charged 15, the next year I charged like 25. So it's relatively nothing versus what the kids, they get something. So I spend pretty much money out of my pocket. I got to pay to run the camp pretty much. And it's just me trying to, just doing something for the community, man, that I grew up in. We have a whole lot of camps. Derek Harper, who's from Rivera Beach, who played in the NBA for a long time, who played with the Knicks. He had a couple when I was coming up, and I remembered that. And I wanted to do the same thing. It's unfortunately I can't do it the way I was doing it. But if things ever changed and I could, I would.
So Eddie, if I hear you correctly, you've been a Division I coach, assistant coach right now. You can't come back to Riviera Beach and put on a basketball camp.
No.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of crazy loopholes.
Yeah.
I'm sure, or just hurdles you got to jump through as being on that side of the things with the NCAA. Hopefully, some things are going to change.
Hopefully.
But that's it. That's all I got for you, Eddie. It was an honor having you on the show. Major, do you have any other closing remarks?
No closing remarks. Just Eddie, good luck, man. Keep being a pillar in your community. Keep being a great husband, great father. And brother, we wish you the best. We're rooting for you. And go Gators, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Same to you guys, man. I appreciate y'all having me on. And it was a pleasure to be on and to talk to you, Pat. I followed your career. Obviously being a Gator fan, man. Y'all made me proud watching you guys, man. So I'm definitely grateful and thankful for that. And, I'll be following you guys continuously, man. Go Gators.
Go Gators.